So yeah, it's very. I just wanted to share that because it's
I didn't know. Very
specific.
Yeah, return, and it
So,
was not call back. It was return your phone calls. It was very specific, and everyone's like, okay, whatever. Like, so it's things like that that my humans like. We're really gonna say that, you know? It's sometimes, or he'll get really excited. I was telling them an example that someone in a group, he got very excited about this rainbow unicorn, and I'm just like, really, like, and he was going on and on about the rainbow unicorn and the horn and the plasma and the this and the this whole detailed thing, and I'm just like, I'm gonna look like a freaking crazy person, as if I didn't already, right? But then the woman at the end reveals it was winter time, so we were all covered up in Oregon. She has this giant rainbow unicorn on her arm. So not just a white unicorn or black and gray or whatever. No, like full on splashy rainbow unicorn on her arm. So that stuff's fun.
And the other funny thing I want to mention was after Marcus got the message, we were walking and we're like, so did that resonate? And Marcus is like, no. But Jen, because he's like, I'm really good, but maybe my mom called, but I didn't want to check. But Jen's like, I think that message was for me because I'm not returning my call. So it was pretty funny. So sometimes, you know, like she said, you get messages that somebody else may be hearing that you need to hear.
And if it's not immediately obvious, it might be immediately obvious
Later on.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not wild.
Totally.
Okay, so we'll, it's kind of warm, isn't it? I'm trying to decide. Barbara Jean, will you take that from me? Thank you. Okay, so we'll just go to numbers. We'll start on this side, and I'll just assign you a number. Is that okay? And then he'll just say numbers. I think, did we have any global questions we were going to ask today? I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Yeah? Okay. Yeah, so we can just start, and then if we...
What did you want me to do? I mean...
yeah, so what we'll have you do is... I don't really feel like we have any, like, a global question we want to start with, right?
I was wondering, and I don't know if this is relevant, but
Yeah.
You all can let me know or not, but is Simon able to speak in astrological terms? And, you know, if there was some pertinent astrological information or something like that, I don't know. I don't know.
We have never asked. We have never asked him, but you can ask.
Is there any global questions that...
Like Pluto into Aquarius.
Yeah. What?
We asked yesterday. Yeah, it'll be up on YouTube. You can listen to it. It
What
was
did she say?
Pluto and Aquarius, and he spoke to that. Yeah.
Or the world's burning up. Has he talked about?
Yeah, the climate crisis.
We actually have talked a lot about the future, and we've talked a lot about, you know, in the last 3 years. So in 2020, there was a lot, well, we know the obvious, right? But there was also a lot of timeline shifting that was happening. And he's spoken a lot to that and the choices we make and vibrational alignment and all those sorts of things in the direction that we're going. And he has repeatedly said that we're going in a positive direction. He and I both speak a lot on that the world is actually doing a lot better than we're given the information of. Yeah. And so it's, where's our focus? And it's super important. If there's one thing that we can do is like having the focus of possibility. Like when we think about, you know, if you recycle, if you do this, if you carpool, whatever it is, those things are important and valuable, and helping the ocean and the animals and all this stuff's important. But one of the most critical things we can do is believe in possibility, because that is an energetic signature that's really powerful. And it, you know, for some people perhaps who are jaded or who have whatever, think really but it actually matters. And we know that it matters because you can see energies in charts, you know, and if you're here, it's because you are interested in this kind of thing. So he talks a lot about that and positive trajectory for the earth. Yeah.
Would you like me to ask this to General if he has any messages as we're gathering here and then go into the...
Yeah, so what you can ask is, we asked yesterday with the group that we were, which I think we were about maybe 6 of us yesterday, 6, 7.
Yeah.
And we asked what was the significance of us gathering together and having met. And I wonder, it's a different group today, right? And so I wonder if we ask that again, if it's a different answer or if it's the same. And I wonder, sometimes the things that he says are very activating. So even if it's the same, it would be interesting for him to offer that activation to everyone. And then after that, you can say, okay, are we ready to start asking, people who, which number would you like to call upon?
And Simon will
tell you a number.
He'll say the number.
Yeah, and then when he says a number, you are welcome to talk. And then if you need help formulating a question or whatever, Brad will basically say, okay, number 3. He says, right? Like, that's it. It's nothing major.
Cool. Everybody knows her number.
Can I add a question for the general?
Sure.
Like, for example, if he wants to
Yeah.
respond, like, what the tree that is in there is thinking about us.
That's so cute.
When the tree
Yes,
is thinking
because the
that.
tree has, so I want to know how he feels with all of us here.
It's interesting
I
because
love
we've been
that,
getting more
Bella.
and more questions about him communicating with other energies. So a lot of the questions in the beginning were about informational, which is tapping into stuff. And then lately, it's been a lot more about people asking him questions that what it is him communicating with other energies. So whether it's I won't give examples, but just stuff like just energies like this. It's he doesn't know what it's thinking, but he can ask the tree what it's thinking, right? So that's kind of an interesting direction that we've been going lately.
And I do love what Rod said earlier. What about asking what is the most important astrology in the sky right now that we need to know?
Or
A
focus
different phase of yesterday. I don't know.
Yeah, you can just ask like how she's doing, but we know it's He usually will say that I'm just fine. That's the big thing is she's just fine, or she's okay, or whatever. Yeah. And oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, I did an event and my daughter was there, little stinker. She's 13, and she was with her friend and she was observing, and she likes this stuff, but I'm her mom, so it's like normal. It's just like whatever she believes, but she's like doesn't care. And she and her friend, they got a text message from the other one's dad, and they're talking about salad, and it was a very low level, far away sound, but it was my child, and I didn't know it was my child. I just felt I had to come out, and I'm like, is someone talking? It was my kid. I'm like, of course, because yes, I do this, but mom mode will always, it's important. It comes, so that, yeah. And then sometimes I've had things with my throat, or I get thirsty, or like I'm uncomfortable in some way. I've had to, and then I go right back in. It's not a big deal. So if I really need to, I can't. I have the ability to stop whenever I want, really. So, yeah.
Energy-wise, what does it do to you afterwards?
Yeah, so I do okay energy-wise. I think it's more, I really love people. Like, I love people, but I also really enjoy hermiting. So, I've noticed it's that part more that I will need to that piece, but I'm not, I don't know. Well, I was telling Rob, it's like I run a half marathon before, so it's not like that. But it's somewhere in between where it's, it's the physical body is doing a thing. And then we talked a little bit about the nervous system and how my nervous system is essentially what's conducting the energy that's coming through, the electricity that's coming through, information that's coming through. So there's that part. And I take supplements and stuff for that and to help, stay healthy in that way. But yeah, it's a common question, but it's a really good one because everyone's curious. Yeah. I find in general, you shouldn't be over fatigued with any of the spiritual things that you're doing. If you are reassessing what's going on, and even your physical body health, and just all of the pieces, because we're humans and we did a thing, so you'll feel the fact that you did a thing, but it shouldn't be to where drained wouldn't be really what we're looking at. You want to reassess it if you feel that way, probably even with looking at charts. If you feel that too much, and reassessing how, and the number of people and things like that. That's kind of my rule of thumb. So, yeah. All right. Do we feel pretty ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Let me see if I get comfortable. Okay. Yes, we may begin.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks for being here. A number of us have gathered here under this tree, and we're wondering if what it is that brought us all together here now.
Yes, it's an acclimatization to the energetic changes. We discussed yesterday the grouping that came together, and that was a specific function of the group itself and the energetics that will go forward from this place forward and the connections you will retain. Yes, and this group today has more to do with a synchronization and an acclimatization of the energetics. Yes, each individual has they're adding into the pot of energetics. Yes, they're adding into the possibility. They're adding into potentiality. Yes, which is quite important, both with our work, but also with the work that you each do. Yes, there's an activation that you have been ready for within yourself, which is an aspect of what we spoke about yesterday. This activation within the beingness, in the center of the beingness, but within the cord within the beingness. Yes, there's an activation that occurs. There's a synchronization that is happening at this time with each of the individuals. If you're noticing all the individuals and the recognitions within your astrological makeup and how it's acting like a signal to one another, and it isn't this or that. It's a specific thing. Yes, yes, and in that way, it's allowing for you to be activated. So noticing the planets in which you share with the people that you are joining in together, that is offering you a gift as well. Yes, yes.
Thanks. The tree that you're sitting beneath, we were curious what that tree that has a message, or how that tree is doing.
Yes, the tree is quite fine. It is quite fine with us being here. It actually enjoys having the energy of the grouping, which is quite a luck for it, as it has lots of people around it. Yes, all the time. Yes.
There was also a group question related to important astrological transits that we might be experiencing individually or collectively, and the group was curious if there's any in particular that was pertinent.
Yes, there is a pertinent Aquarius transit, but there's also, this is quite an important area, yes, and especially in the areas of the angles, yes, for the individuals who have the activations within their angles, yes, it's quite important. The angles are quite important at this time for individuals, not all individuals, but in the way of the activations, yes, so the movement through it. If you notice, this is what has been primarily discussed today in the examples of the individuals that have been chosen. They have all been angular, yes, in one way or another. It's a bit of a top, bottom, side to side, yes, quite interesting, yes, is quite important for all the individuals in the way in which the transits move through your energies in the angular way, because of the way in which that can activate you in a much stronger way than if it was a different aspect of it. Yes, these are the pivotal, the most primal parts of yourselves in some way. Yes, and so having that can be quite interesting and quite helpful for you to do that, and to having the assistance in which you need to move forward in a much more activated way, which is quite the point of it all. Yes.
I think that was the major questions we had as a group, and if you're ready, or when you're ready, there's a number of individual questions that give the floor to you, Simon.
Yes, the number 3, it's quite important, the number 3.
Thank you, Simon. My question has to do with my future and the wellness of my husband.
Yes, in what capacity would you like to be answering?
I'm wondering what the next chapter looks like in our lives together.
Yes, are you wondering if you will be continuing on together?
No.
And his health of that, because he will be continuing on for some time.
Yeah, his health more, and how we'll journey together in this last part of our lives.
Yes, there is a caretaker component, but this will not be difficult for you, as there will be assistance for you as well. Yes, and it will be a much beautiful way. Yes, these are important lessons that you each agreed to before you came into this incarnation. This is quite important in this next chapter. So it's quite interesting that you're asking in this way. Yes, and in your capacity to understand that there's many different ways to caretake, and when we do it without obligation from the heart energy. Yes, it's quite different to caretake from the Saturn energy as from the Cancerian energy. Yes, it's quite different when you allow yourself to, without obligation, but within the love of it, and that you can choose at any time. Any being can choose anything at any time. You never have to do any of the things that you think you have to. No one has to do anything at all. Yes, and when you recognize that you don't really have to do anything at all, you could just sit and be a little blob. It is quite freeing, because you choose not to be a little blob. Yes, you choose to have the obligations, because you feel the obligations are the things that will move you forward. But truly, you move forward because of love. Yes, all beings for all things. Yes. Yes. Is that adequate?
Thank you.
Yes. We may continue with the number 7.
Don't have a
specific question. Just curious why my number.
Yes, because there's a quite lovely message for you around the love of self, but particularly around the way that you hold yourself and hold yourself in your spine. Yes, the way you hold yourself and how you're able to present that love of yourself and love of is quite important. The spine is quite important for you at this time. Yes. Yes, you can tune into what this means for you. It can be a physical representation, or it can also be a metaphysical presentation. It would be also quite interesting if you looked into the aspects of it all. Yes, yes. And we will be continuing with the number 11.
Thank you, Simon. What's the best way for me to work with my spiritual clients?
Yes, well, to work with them, but you're asking specifically how to do that. Yes, it is quite simple oftentimes. You work with them by working with them, yes? But you're asking for the structural approach, yes?
Yes.
Yes, we discussed yesterday within a different individual about the foundational nature, yes? Well, this was with you, yes?
Yes.
Yes, with the foundational nature. Why are you asking the same thing again?
Sorry.
No.
I'll change my question.
No, truly, why are you asking? Was there a misrepresentation, or are you uncomfortable with the idea of it? Or are you excited to do it?
Yeah. I think
Yes.
yes. Excited to do it, and I think I was a little confused. The foundational, starting from the bottom up, from the roots.
Yes, and the roots in your case are that of love and partnership, yes?
Yes.
What does that mean for you? What does it mean to work with a client from the perspective of love? So this would be that you could even look at their chart from that perspective, yes? That you ask them what their history is with love. What is their perception and their understanding? Oh, this is quite important, the perception piece. What is their perception of love, yes? What is their perception of love within themselves, within their life, with the way they view love in the world, yes? This is a foundational piece. Once you ask an individual what they believe in love, yes, how they view love, the way they perceive it, the way that it acts through their life, the way it flows through their body and through the world, yes. If you ask a person how much love do they think is on the planet, this will tell you a lot of information, yes. It will give you quite a lot of information of their perspective, and this allows for you to have a foundational piece in your perspective with your energetics. The foundational piece will always be partnership and love, and then you work from there, yes. And in that way, allowing for there to be a reconfiguration of the way that they experience themselves in the flow of expansive natureness, yes?
Yes.
Is this much more clear than yesterday?
Yes, I was thinking I needed to start with my feet, but I obviously need to start with my heart.
Yes.
Yes. Which makes total sense.
Yes, yes.
I have a second part to that question. And I don't know if I can ask this, but I was wondering, with Alex's feet, is there something she's not moving forward with? She's having a foot problem.
This has been something that is discussed many, many times. She keeps asking about these things, and this doesn't just have to do with the feet. This has to do with all of the movement areas, all of the joints is what they're called. And what this has to do with is having to do with electrical conductivity, but it also has to do with specific information that she needs to be grasping and integrating into, which is occurring at this time. But it is sometimes a slower thing. Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking. We may continue with the number 4.
Hi Simon, thanks for taking my question. I was wondering about binary stars and whether I have one or anybody else in this group has one. If you could let us know.
Yes, it's quite interesting how that works. It is quite different, this concept, than the one that is referred to, such as the soulmate area. Yes, this has to do with more of a connection, and the concept comes from the way in which you differentiate from source. Yes, and the way you differentiate from source we refer to as an origin piece. And of course, all individuals. Oh, how lovely! When you differentiate from source energy, yes, you of course all come in from source, and that is the origin. But the next origin is the one that we're talking about in terms of the differentiation from source. And when you do that, some beings do that together with another consciousness. Yes, and this is what we refer to as the binary star, tertiary star, or this sort of things. They're also the experience of these beings have actually been physical gaseous bodies in the sky. Yes, there's that aspect as well. So it's an interesting thing, which is different than the soulmate aspect, which is different also which has to do with the union and connection and the predetermination with your own soul, with another individuated consciousness, to come in and to learn certain things, whether that be positive or however it is that you facilitate that information within your experience, yes? And this also has to do that there's been quite a lot of confusion about a concept of the twin flame energy, which is quite a confusing thing in the way that human beings try to perceive this energies, because it isn't quite the way that they perceive them, which is quite different than this. Not all beings have binary stars, and some do, yes, and some of them are physical and not physical. In this way, no, but you do have many soulmates that come forward for you and are quite important for you at this time, yes? Yes. Yes, there's a particular signature that they have. You recognize them in a specific way, yes? Have you identified that yet?
Not really, beyond that I'm probably in touch with them.
Yes,
Having
it'd be
to
quite
contact
curious. It might begin to present itself now that you notice the connection of them. Yes, be quite interesting for you as a curiosity,
Any
yes.
hints?
Oh no, you will discover this, yes.
Thanks.
Yes. We will also have the number 1 now.
I'm not sure I was quite prepared. I have a million questions and none, so I'll allow you to. Yeah, hello. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, may I speak? May I say something, or would you like us to go to another person?
You can speak.
Yes. There's a lovely connection you have. The transmission with your hair. Are you familiar with the way that your hair transmits energy?
No.
Yes, your hair is transmitting energy. It is said that all human beings have that, and it's quite different. There's a different degree of potency, but your hair is transmitting energy, yes? So the relationship with that and the way that it's allowing, it's important to have the cleansing and the clearing of your hair. So sometimes you have discomforts in the head or discomforts within the bodiness, yes? After you connect with other human beings, it would be quite helpful for you to have a clearing of the hair and of the head area. Yes, this is clear. Yes. But it's a beautiful connection. It is not something to be sad about. It is simply something to have a hygienic understanding and a spiritual sense of. Yes? Yes. Yes. Is that a completion? Do you have a question? Yes. There is a number 13. Do we have a number 13?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Simon. I have a question about, maybe you can tell me what do you see ahead within the company I work for right now?
There will be an integration, but the company will be sold in several years' time, but there will be an integration into another company, yes. But what is quite important isn't so much the company itself, but your personal trajectory, because your personal trajectory will be changing prior to these things be a problematicness for you, yes. Yes, you will begin to integrate the things that you are integrating and presenting them at a higher level, yes? You have a desire to do this, and you have a wondering and a hope if it will work out, so to speak, yes, but it will quite, so you just continue on, and it won't be necessary to worry about the physical structure of the physical workplace that you currently have, yes? Yes.
Thank you, Simon. Can I ask something else?
Yes.
Any message that you have for me, for my guys?
They would like you to speak with them, but that is complete at this time.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. There's a number 14, yes?
Hi, Simon. My question is, how do I increase my vibration so I may better be of service to others?
Yes, it's through that, yes? It's through that awareness that this is something, and it isn't quite a vibrational thing. Oh, it's quite interesting. So the understanding that you have of vibrations is that it's important to tune into the clarity of it, yes? Yes. And how is your feeling on having low vibration emotions and feelings? Are you comfortable with that? There's a discomfort there. And in raising your vibration quite curiously, it's having a comfort with the things that flow through you, for you not to have a judgment to when perhaps you get upset or too sad. Yes, it's quite all right. It does not affect you in a negative way. Yes? Yes, what you're really looking at, what all beings are looking at when we're talking about vibration and vibrational signature of your beingness, is that your baseline is increasing. Yes, it does not mean you are in a human body. You will of course have sadness, you will of course have fear. Oh, this body is quite an interesting thing with the fear mechanism, yes, and the way that it has been controlled, and this is something we speak on many times, because it's quite important to understand that your physical body, as we refer to, is quite squishy, it's quite tender, it can be physically harmed quite easily. So there is the biological functioning with fear to allow you to make decisions and movements to keep your physical form safe, yes? And in that, there has been a misrepresentation of the way in which fear operates, because then you're afraid of things that actually will not harm you at all, yes? And it is quite all right to have fears as a human being, and you move through that. The objective here is not to live in any of those dark spaces. Yes, is have an awareness, oh yes, I am in this space, how do I move through this? So what we are discussing here is that you want to be aware that your baseline vibration is what is increasing, yes? And this is what you want to be occurring, your baseline vibration to be increasing. And the way that you do that is through allowing yourself the emotions that you may perhaps been afraid to experience. Is that a bit more clear? Yes, yes, it's quite lovely. You continue with what you are doing, because it's quite lovely, yes? Yes, there's a presentation, a representation of artistic ability and necessity to express itself. Is that true? Yes, are you doing that adequately? Oh, then that would also be a way in which you raise the vibration, is by being honest and true to yourself and the path in which you go forward. And because you are all studying the astrology, you can see this quite clearly in your chart, that is your medicine, yes?
Yeah.
Yes, so perhaps you do that, yes? Yes, quite welcome. There's additional beings here now. Oh, yes. Who would like to go next? We will do that now. Rob, you may choose someone. This is quite important for you to have this role at this time.
Hi Simon.
Yes.
Is motherhood of a human child in my future?
Yes, it is. It may be in an unconventional and unusual way.
Can you say more about that?
Yes. You can see this as well in your chart, that this will be that way, yes?
Yes.
Yes. And in that way is what you are asking is whether the way in which the child will come through you, will it come through your physical body or not? Is that the main question that you have?
Yes.
Or are you asking a different question?
Yes.
So remember that there are many ways for things to be unconventional and unusual, yes?
Yes.
Is there a partner present that it would also like a child at this time?
Yes.
Yes, this is in the way. This begins to approach some things that may be a bit uncomfortable. You may ask privately. She may remember the answer. She will remember the answer to this, but it is understanding that there's many ways in which that are unconventional. But it is quite likely that there will be two possibilities. Yes, one possibility is that the child is born through your body, but there may be some unusual and unconventional means of the method of which this is occurring. Yes, and there will be also an opportunity, an auxiliary opportunity to this, to provide a sibling for this child, but this may or may not be, it is not quite clear yet within your timeline choice and possibility yet. It is quite up in the air, if you will. But being a parent to a physical human child is the correctness. It's just quite important. Your soul would like to do this in an unusual way. It likes to do things in an unusual way, particularly in this expression, yes?
Interesting, thank you.
Yes.
Can I ask just a follow-up?
Yes.
When you say unconventional, are you able to see what that is? There's multiple possibilities of what that could mean for
Yes.
us, and it's been already unconventional, so I'm just curious if I should continue
Yes.
with the current path or
Yes, it
go
is
to the
correct.
next level.
Yes, continuing, but the next level is the more unconventional. Yes, making choices that perhaps would have thought of uncomfortable. Yes. Yes, but it's quite both of your child. It doesn't matter the particularities. Yes.
Thank you.
And this is an emotional thing that will be quite interesting for him to. You will see this in your partner's chart.
Yes.
And you will help him through this so that he can come to the space where it's comfortable. And you just remind him, oh, we're here to do unusual things. It's all quite all right. And you chose me to be unusual, so this is quite all right.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, hi Simon.
Yes.
I had a question about what would be the most dominant and fruitful present future of either art, astrology, or film.
Why are we choosing one of the things that are most passionate to you?
Because I'm getting a little too old to handle all this.
What does being old have anything to do with anything?
I have an adrenal deficiency, and
Yes, but it doesn't mean that you can't. The point here is that you can express all of them. If you negate one of them, it will create great sadness within you. So you pace yourself, yes? You pace yourself and you connect to the thing, and then you complete it, and you connect to the next thing, and you complete it, and you complete the next thing, yes? You pace yourself. You allow yourself and your body to honor itself. You allow your body to move through, yes? And you also allow yourself to know that you are safe in yourself, yes? You are safe in your body, you're safe in yourself. You must know this because that will heal your adrenal glands, and knowing the safety, because if it does not recognize its safety, it is merely pumping out more and more hormones that will create more and more distress to it, yes? So this is possible regardless of what the external circumstances are, and this can be a quite unusual and uncomfortable thing and quite angering thing for some human beings. That what you mean, because I am not safe, why would I tell myself I'm safe if I am not safe? But on a soul level you are, yes? And that is the most important, and that will be what carries you through, and it is what will make you well. But in terms of what you would choose, it is as if we were asked, would you like to choose your head, your arms, or your feet? This would be quite a strange thing to do. It wouldn't make any sense to ask you to do that.
Well, can I be a little more specific?
Yes.
Is there something coming from the outside to help bring the film into the world?
Yes. Looking at the transit of where the Uranus is at this time for yourself, this will help you to understand the way in which it will be coming forward for you. The individuals that will come forward for you and helping this to come into a fruition, yes? Yes.
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Yes, we may continue.
Hi, Simon. I would like to know what are the prospects of my relationship with Johan?
The prospect in terms of whether or not this person will love you in the way that you deserve to be loved?
Whether or not he's going to come back.
Well, that is a different question than the one that I presented to you. If he would come back, yes, of course. But is this the most appropriate thing for you? That is the question for yourself.
Right.
Yes. So this is what must be asked of all of us. We think, oh, would I like this thing, so will it come back to me? Will I be able to entertain this thing? But it is what you actually would like to be experiencing on a soul level, or would you like to be doing something different? Because by choosing that again, you'd be doing the same thing over and over again. Is this a clear understanding? Yes, this is something that you do. Yes, it's in your chart as well. This allowance, yes? Yes, allowing yourself to have the allowances for yourself instead of other people. Yes? To having the grace for yourself. Do you understand that part?
Yes.
Having the grace for yourself, yes? So of course, a partner can come back to us and we can let them back 1,000 times, but is that in the most correctness for you? If you would like to entertain that again, you may certainly do so, because they would be very happy to do so again and to do over and over again. But is that the most correctness for you? It could be or could not be. It is not clear within your energetic signature of what you have chosen yet, and which is why I present it to you in this way, because you could go either way. Yes?
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, Simon. My question is, if you can give me some advice on how I should, or what would be the best way to proceed with learning astrology?
Yes, by having the connections that you have made, by expanding upon that, by practicing and playing, by reading and learning, by moving your body, by seeing the way it is, by hearing the charts, by hearing other people. This is quite helpful for you to observe the way other people interpret a different chart. Yes, this fly on the wall, so to speak. You enjoy doing that, yes? Yes, and having this observational tendency will be an aspect of the way you do it, which is why the class is so helpful, but it also with your friends that you have made here, being able to observe them make observations, yes?
Yes. Awesome. Thank you. I
Yes.
have another question.
Yes.
How does my future with my government job look for me? And is it in my best interest to spend my time there?
Yes, it will be coming to a completion at a certain point, but it will be a calm and beautiful completion as you move into more of the alignment with the soul. This is quite important. When you choose a thing for yourself, this is for everyone. When you choose a thing for yourself and you're finally willing to say yes to the thing, to yourself, because that's truly what you are doing, is not saying yes to things or people or anything of that nature. You're saying yes to yourself. You're saying yes to the recognition of yourself. And as you heal, whether it's with energy or with astrology or with absolutely anything, what you're doing is you're creating more space for yourself. You're creating more space for your consciousness, for your soul to come forward. And when you're a soul-led, consciousness-led human being at greater and greater degrees in each moment, it allows for you to be more clear and for things to be different than the way you originally thought they would be. It allows for you to shift into different timelines that allow for that greatest possibility, because the true manifestation has to do with alignment with timeline, yes? The physicality of it all has to do with that alignment, yes? And so what we're discussing here is that you will be moving into what is most correct for your soul more and more and more as you grow and expand and allow yourself to say yes to yourself in more beautiful ways. As we discussed yesterday, as you love yourself more and are able to see yourself and let people see you in a way that is most advantageous for you and quite them. Because if there's an individual that would really benefit from being able to see you, but you do not allow it, oh, what sadness that would be, yes? Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Hello, Simon. I don't have a particular question, but I was wondering if you could pick up some energy from me.
Yes, are you caring for yourself in the most proper of ways?
No.
Yes, would you like to do that?
Yes.
Yes, that is the message. Would you like me to say more detail to you?
Yes.
Yes, the water is quite necessary for you, and allowing yourself to be in water and finding the ways in which you can be in water. And if it is difficult to have the water all submerged, you do that at least with your feet. The water is quite healing for you and quite necessary, yes?
That's interesting because I have a little bit of fear of water.
Oh, quite interesting.
Yeah.
This is likely what it is. Do you allow yourself to get into the bathtub?
Yes.
Yes, that is the way.
Okay.
It allows for you, can be quite healing for you, because that fear of water, would you like to know what, oh, you know what it is.
I do.
Do you?
I just assumed I drowned in the last.
Yes, that is a correctness, yes.
Yes.
Yes, that is a correctness. So being in the tub is quite helpful for you because it's quite healing. Your body enjoys having information via the water, yes. It was an accidental situation previously, yes, and somewhat traumatic, but not quite as much as it could be, yes. But it's quite important to know that the water is quite healing for you, and to putting the oils in the water and putting the salts in the water, this is quite helpful for you, yes. But caring for yourself in terms of the way that you feed yourself, the way that you sleep properly, the way that just these basic sorts of things, yes. The small luxuries that you were, yes. And you would also be wise to look at the Taurus in your chart, yes. This will be quite helpful for you at this time. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Simon, I had a question about a blockage that I am experiencing, and I'd like to know what I don't know about this. And the felt experience is like an owl holding on to something in its claws and not wanting to let go. There seems to be a clenching in the feet, and I'm wondering if you could tell me a bit more about that and some specific ways in which I can release, let go, and heal.
This is quite interesting. This is a metaphorical situation that you're speaking of, but there is also a physical situation of this.
Yeah.
Do you have an awareness of both things?
I do.
Yes, there was also a time before the mention that Alexis had of the age of 7. This has to do with that. This has to do with, this happened recently with another individual where there was energy transferred to the being. Just a moment. Yes, there's a similarity, and it does have to do with the Lyrian connection that we spoke of yesterday, that this happens from time to time, which is quite interesting, that it isn't always in which the way the connection that Alexis and I have, that it is correctness for us to have this sort of thing, to be able to present this information to you. It's in a different way, but sometimes individuals, before you incarnate, especially for those beings who work with larger groups of different ways, there's many different ways in which you work with different groups, yes, and so before you come into your beingness, before you embody into this life experience, on occasion there's an awareness of, oh, what we're choosing is a bit difficult. Perhaps if I do have some trouble, will you come in and assist me? And you have experiences of that, and it is sometimes transmitted through the energy of the owl, and that was one of the transmissions that you were receiving, yes, was information. So it isn't so much letting go. Do you allow that information to be integrated into your beingness at a greater level? Yes. But the piece around letting go is something that you have done. You've been letting go of what you aren't, allowing yourself to be what you are.
Yeah, and how do I integrate better? How do I absorb better in a healthy, wise way?
Yes, yes. The information that you were given, or the way that you interact with yourself? Or both things. Yes, we will speak to the first thing. The way that you integrate better is you can almost, if it feels correct and with a safeness, you can communicate and connect with that energy of the owl and allow them to show you what is in the claws clenched and say, may I see this? Is this helpful for me to bring this into my beingness? Is this helpful for you to bring into your beingness? What is the most correctness? You know how to do the deep meditations where you connect and communicate in this way, yes? Yeah, so you will be doing this and following your correctness of what feels most accurate for you. You can even put this in your field if it does not feel correct to bring it into yourself, yes? But there will be a consciousness connection of the information in a different way. It will allow for the downloads, if you will. This is a crude word of it, but it will be in a way of what it can go in more slowly, yes? And this is something you will be asking as well for your field as a whole, as the nervous system adjusts itself, that the information can be placed in your field and not necessarily just through you, so that you're, it's almost as if I gave you a feast, yes? And if we gave you a feast and we had you eat it all at once, it would be quite unusual. But if we presented all this lovely food for you and a way to keep it fresh and awareness good, yes, then it would be quite helpful for you, rather than just giving it to you and saying you must eat it all at once. So that is what we are speaking of being able to put the information. This is useful for anyone who has this experience where it's too much information too fast. You ask for the information to be placed around you within your field, and it allows for you want there to be a correctness with the information. You want to be filtering what it is. You do not simply give permission for this to enter your field of anything. You want to be quite clear on this, yes? But in this case that we are discussing, you are aware of what you are asking for, and so you allow for this to be a filtration system. So it can be as each meal at a time, which is not the actual meals you take, but you understand, is as if you had a banquet. You wouldn't just eat it all in one moment. You eat it as you are hungry, as you need nourishment, yes? And you would do the same with the energetic information, yes?
Okay. So is it more of a digestive versus a release?
For this aspect of it, yes. The thing that you are releasing is the thing that you are not. You may make a list of all the things that you thought you were that you have now come into realization that you aren't, or you don't have to be, yes?
Yeah.
Yes, and those are the things. And it's quite interesting because you've let go of much of that, but not completely. So perhaps it is time to let go of it completely, knowing that what is in its place is the greatness that you are. It's quite a discomfort that you have greatness, yes?
Perhaps.
Yes.
Yeah.
So allowing that to be, because it is in service, yes? In service of yourself, in service of what you came here to do, and allowing that what it is connecting with that energy of understanding that there are noble kings who are beautiful and kind, yes? Instead of the king that runs around and taking everything from everyone, yes? It isn't that energy that you embody. You embody the energy of the nobleness, yes? Of the kindness, yes? And knowing that that is true and good and can be quite helpful for you if you allow yourself. You are that thing and people notice that thing, but you need to remember that you are that thing and not the other thing, yes? Yes, this is the letting go-ness of it. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, Simon. So I'm curious if you can enlighten me on what was blocking me in my past life.
In what specific way? Because there are many blockages over many lives. Is there a specific experience that you would like to be tuning into?
Yeah, my North Node.
Oh, yes. Yes, having to do with the energy of whom you truly be. It's quite interesting that you sit next to each other, yes, because there's this energy of discomfort around that, and he is currently embodying that regalness of self, and it is becoming more and more comfortable, is it not? Yes, you allow that, yes, and it's quite interesting because what your idea is that it is different now. You don't need to be that thing, but it isn't incorrect to utilize those gifts. This is for everyone. It is not incorrect to utilize the gifts that help you move towards what you are becoming. just because they are gifts that were previous, that you know that you're integrated into, and or have caused you death, discomfort, or some other sort of suffering. It is not incorrect to use that in some way in its most alignedness with you, yes? And you use that in a way that it allows you to directionally focus into what you are moving into, yes? The energies that you are connecting with of society and connection and of service, yes? Yes. And allowing the other energy to help you. You would like to know specifically what happened, but you know that you died. What more do you want to know?
What was blocking me?
What were blocking you? Oh, there was individuals that were blocking you. And it is quite interesting because we can go round and round in each lifetime, because in the lifetime that you each were, that is represented in the north and south nodes, it is quite interesting because the south node is a representation of a lifetime, but that lifetime also had an astrological chart, yes, did it not? And it also had a south node in it. So it is quite interesting. You can go back and back and back and back and through, and it can be quite cumbersome. It can feel like, oh, this is so upside down, and oh my goodness, I can never heal anything, yes? But it isn't quite what it is, yes? What this is this connection of understanding of your spiritual soup, as Alexis and I speak of. And your spiritual soup is all that you are, which means you have all of the south nodes that you ever were, and all of the south nodes of all of the ancestors that you ever had. So this can be quite a lot of a lot. The focus here is on understanding what is necessary to shift the energy to be able to move forward in a way that is most productive for your soul, yes? And in that way that is quite interesting and most helpful is that that energy will also help the beings around you, all beings around you, not just the beings that are here in this moment, but all beings that you come into contact with. Because when you start to live that energy of that, what you're referring to as the North Node energy, you carry the signature of that possibility and you allow for it to share out like glitter, yes? Glitter gets everywhere, yes? Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Hello, Simon.
Yes.
I'd like to understand more about my friendship with someone a man who I've dated 3 times, actually 4 times. He got really sick on the 4th date, and it was it's been a really beautiful connection, starting on the phone, and it's still wonderful on the phone. He's been so ill that he's canceled a few in-person dates, but the last one, he asked if we could talk soon, and I found myself thinking, it's been a month, I don't want to have anything to do with, just talking on the phone. I want to see you. I thought to myself that, so I said something I think was not right, and I said, well, when you're feeling better, please I'd love to have you contact me. And I haven't heard from him, which makes sense. And I would really, my heart's changed. I would love to just be able to talk to him on the phone. That feels like it's enough for some reason. I just wondered if I'm going down the right path, if I'm listening to my true self.
Yes, it is a quite correctness. You know what that feels like. You haven't ever made a mistake. This is quite important for you to know. You haven't ever made a mistake. You have made incorrectness with yourself over the course of your whole life, being guided by the energy of internal corrections. Yes, meaning that when you have an experience, you're able to see whether you like that experience or not. And the only way to know if you like an experience is by having the experience, yes?
Yes.
Which means you haven't ever made a mistake, yes? This is an offering for you to understand, for you to trust yourself in a deeper way. Because when you don't understand that there aren't any mistakes, then what you do is that you second guess your current experiences. You second guess your current desires, yes? But when you no longer view things as a mistake and you view them in an integration of like, yes, I did that thing and it taught me a thing and it was all incorrectness, then you have a greater level of self-trust around what you do now, yes? There isn't as much second guessing in all of this, yes? And what is most important to understand is there's quite a great deal of embarrassment from his point of view, of himself. Yes, he's quite embarrassed. So if you indicate to him that it's quite all right, that he is quite all right, will be quite helpful for him. And you can even bring up that it's quite important for us to address the things when we have a sense of harming. Some individuals, what happens for them is that you worry a lot if you hurt someone's feelings, and it isn't that you actually did something incorrectly. It's more sometimes that you think too much about the other and not yourself, and which thinking about the correctness of your own energetic flow and what's true to you. So sometimes you say things that aren't in alignment with your trueness, and that's what it has to do with more than anything else. Yes, and in this case, what you want to be doing is connecting into the beauty of the energy of connection, and say that it is quite all right. And you say it is quite important for him to hear that it is quite all right with you, and that you said a thing having to do with health, and you don't know why you said that. It is quite all right. Whatever he feels, you'd like to connect with him. He doesn't have to. You don't have an expectation of what he is required to be in order to talk to you.
Beautiful.
Yes. Yes. And this is quite helpful when you have connections with any being, that truly when there's a flow of love, when there's a flow of connection, yes, and is in most correctness, we don't actually need to have requirements of it. Is what we said in the very beginning around we think that there's requirements. Human beings think that there's requirements that we must do, and it isn't. It's just our hearts guiding us and guiding you in the directionality of the most expansion and the most expression, yes? Yes.
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 Thank you. Thank you, Simon.
Yes.
So I just want to check in how Alexis is doing. How are things?
She is quite fine at this time.
Quite fine. So it's okay to take more questions if there are.
Yes, several more would be quite fine.
Yes, hi Simon again. Thank you for your words. Will I meet an equal partner?
Yes, it's quite important for you to have a demonstration of the way in which that means for you, yes? You must have an understanding of what that energy is for you. What does your energy feel in order for you to balance out with another energy, yes? For you to know what equal is, you must feel the energy within yourself. And if you do not feel your power, you can't recognize that with another individual.
I feel like I do feel.
Yes, in the way that there are different types of it, yes? Yes.
Sure, I guess.
Yes, an integration of it, of you knowing that you can be everything that you are, regardless of adrenals or anything else, that you can be everything that you are. That augments the light of yourself and of your beingness and your beacon, yes? Is that clear? So when you allow your beacon to become brighter, then you may be more noticeable to individuals that have that energy with you. And the answer would be yes, it's quite possible. It's just a matter of do you have a willingness to allow that beacon to be stronger? And with that beacon gets stronger with that awareness of integration of self. Yes? Yes. Yes. This is quite helpful. This example is quite helpful for all beings with anything that you are wanting to be a beacon for, is tuning into yourness, your own sun, and is it allowed to exhibit itself in a way that it can be a beacon for others, yes? Yes.
Hi Simon, it's me again. Can you please tell me what my spirit animal is?
Yes, it is a dragon, is the one that is presenting itself at this time. There are also earth animals, but they aren't quite as important as this one at this time.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Do you understand why the dragon?
No.
Yes, because it's strongness and its muchness, and it doesn't quite worry too much about what it is. It simply is, yes. And it creates warmth when it's in its belly. Yes.
Thank you. And I have one more question.
Yes.
Actually, never mind. That's okay.
Did you receive your answer of yourself?
I don't know. Okay, I'm just going to ask it. Do you see a partnership in this lifetime? A real one that I want?
Yes, of course. This was already discussed. Rob helped you with this understanding, yes.
Thank you so much.
What's important, because it was a forgetfulness, even though it was so soon ago, what's important is to allow that into your cellular understanding, that you have a worthiness of that, and there can be that. And it's also that what we just spoke of, allowing for that beacon to get brighter and brighter, yes? Yes. And a knowingness that of course you will have a partner. Many things, it's about a knowingness, of course it will be the thing that I have on my heart. Why would it not? You have something on your heart and you worry about whether or not it will come into beingness when it is on your heart, because it will come into beingness. So we don't need to fret about whether or not it will come, because it is on the heart because of the beingness. It is sometimes these things come in an unusual way, so we can become uncomfortable, as the question was earlier. Which way do we go forward, yes? And because it's unusual, we think perhaps, oh, I wonder, is it a correctness? But we always, if it is on your heart, there's a correctness of the journey itself, yes? Yes.
Hi Simon, I'm wondering if you're able to connect with souls who have passed.
Yes, in some way, but we don't always do that. In what way would you like to do that?
I was just wondering if Andy Cohen had a message for me.
Just a moment. His energy is currently in a training program, and it isn't quite as easy to connect with. This training program has to do with soul growth, and this is quite helpful. He is quite fine, but it's a training program that is quite helpful for him. This is kind of an unusual thing. It doesn't always happen. Many of the things that you read about are all connected to one another, and some of them are correct and some of them aren't, and all of them are in a way, yes. And in this way there's this concept of being able to have an experience and integrating the experience in a way so that it may be different for the next iteration of experience, yes?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I have a burning question.
Yes.
Now related to the north-south node of the moon, and after time expires here and between lives, how is it, and of course our conscious mind can only understand bits of this, I would imagine, but could you explain to us how it is that that moment is chosen? Is that chosen at an individual level? Is it done with guides? Is it done, how is this done? Could you speak towards that?
Yes, the moment of birth. How is the moment of birth decided?
Yeah.
Yes, this has to do with the energetics of what would be most helpful for the mission at hand. Yes, and all beings, they come in with different intentions and different beings. Yes, there's many different individuals and energies and consciousness that are able to choose to be and to incarnate into being humanness, which is why you see a mass array of different human beings in the way they express themselves. And when you meet a person that says, oh, they aren't quite human, yes, in different ways, this can be in a positive way or a not positive way, yes, in a way that's destructive or not, because it's quite, it isn't quite a free-for-all, but in a way, there's quite a lot of possibilities of whom can decide to be a human, right? And in that way, whatever the intentionality of the consciousness, when it comes into its beingness, it chooses these things in the possibility. So this even has to do with the conception. This begins in the moment of conception, because this will connect to having only a handful of possibilities with the sun, yes? And the sun is quite important, as we discussed. That's your beacon, yes? So the moment of conception is quite important. So all of these different things, and this is why sometimes when there are pregnancies and they do not go to completion, there's a potentiality that the correctness of expression wasn't there, and there's a realignment of the agreement. Yes, there's many reasons for why these things happen, but that is one of the reasons why, because there needs to be an alignment and a correctness of these sorts of things. And this is also sometimes why there is a prematurity that occurs, because there's a realignment of what the soul would like to learn and what is possibility within it. Yes, but there are still specific functions having to do with the moment of conception of what is possible, having to do with human viability and things of that nature, yes? But what you're asking is the precision of the moment. Once the sun is decided and or closely decided, yes, what will be occurring is that all of the other pieces are, because sometimes you have decisions to make, and the beingness, you also have to remember that the moment that you were born, you were a transit for your parent that is then in front of them for the rest of their lives. Yes? And so this is an important thing to recognize, that you are that transit. So there's that aspect of the soul, their soul making these decisions even before they came in, and so on and so forth, yes? And we connect with this through the evolving now concept, yes? That all time is happening all at once, but it is also the evolving now as each decision is made and it moves and all those sorts of things, yes? But it having to do with moment-to-moment decision making and what is the most correctness in expression, yes? And that is why it is decided is what would allow it to move itself forward. Because if you think about it, as we discussed with the spiritual soup, there's many possibilities of all of these south nodes. There's so many configurations of possibilities. But what is discussed, as Stephen Vorse discusses, is the ripeness of the karma. What that has to do with is what is most correctness for the path to be resolving in this moment. It ripens because there's a correctness of the particular thing that you choose to do in this lifetime. There's a correctness of that. So both things are absolutely intricately connected to one another.
From the soul's perspective, coming into a life, could you explain the difference between the north node and the sun?
They will be in concert with each other. There is the relationship to the supportive energy of it. Yeah, so the north node has to do with the thing that allows for there to be healing too of the previous life that is being asked to. But there's also always going to be an allowance when this energy is resolved. It allows for there to be an allowance of the congregation of energies of the beacon of the sun. Yes. and the energies of the sun increase and increase and increase through the healing that is occurring. So this is the function of the north and the south node, is that you have the presentation of the information that is most necessary to be healed in this lifetime, that allows for the function of the purpose of that energetic incarnation to be occurring, yes. And then you have the function of the north node, which is inextricably linked to the south node, of course, allowing for there to be a guiding point, which allows for there to be an increase in the sun's energy, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, Simon. I have a lot of fear around childbirth. There's been a lot of trauma generationally in my family, and I think that's where some of that comes from. Is there any messages that you want to share around that, and how to release that, and if there's a way to prevent that?
Yes, this is an aspect of a question that was asked yesterday. It wasn't related to childbirth, but it was related to releasing, and how do you know that something, a fear that you have, will occur or not. And in this lifetime, in tuning into the energy, the things that you are afraid of will not be present in your experience. So one aspect is to know this and to tune into the ness that this will not be something that needs to be concerned with in this life experience. Yes.
Thank you.
And we are not the only energies that have been telling you this. You have heard this before, yes?
Yes.
Yes, and so it is time for you to believe this, yes?
Yes.
Yes, and you allow that the word. So if you think of a concept like we are offering you right now, this concept that you will be quite all right, and it will be quite different, yes, and that much of it has been released and to let go, then you take this concept of a little bubble, yes, and like we were discussing with Rob, you bring it into your field and you allow it to slowly come into yourself so you may believe it more and more, yes? That is an aspect of it. But then, of course, having the physical assistance of having individuals making the choices of whom will care for you in the process, yes? This will be quite helpful as well. Having which individuals are you listening to? What are you consuming? What are you allowing yourself to be fed by during this process? Where will you be comforted and not, yes? And having which you have very stern boundaries, but allowing for those to be beautiful and kind, and that it's quite all right, and not to have to take on other people's karmic entanglements that aren't yours, yes? Yes. There's also an aspect that you must remember when you come into your life experiences and you were choosing, as the choosing that Rob was indicating, this is for everyone to have an understanding, and the moment that you choose, you're choosing it all. You're all choosing it together, the families, all of the things, the charts, all of the things, and what you are choosing then has an impact in the spiritual soup of the family line, yes? There allows to be a release, and you see in your chart the things that you are experiencing, and you also see the letting go of it. You see the positive attributes of it, yes? And so this is allowing for your child itself to have a different chart itself, because it is changing and healing the karmic signatures, which is happening on a massive global level. And this is why it's quite interesting that everyone is running around saying that the sky is falling when it is not, yes? There's so many positive impacts that are being made within the new charts of all these little beings, within the way in which they express energy is quite lovely and quite beautiful that is happening, yes? Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I have two questions. Career or family?
You choose. Because that is the question, is it not? Career or family? Why not both?
It's both.
Yes.
So first, I've had a lot of transition in my career life.
Yes.
And I would like to know if I am on the right path. Do you need more?
Yes and no. It is quite interesting because it is the way Alexis has been walking the campus this time, in that there are many ways. She was discussing this with someone. There are many ways, yes? And so that is what will be happening with the work, that there will be a divergence to it in a way, but there is a going forward, yes? And there will be an expansion with it, but there will be a little side path that it feels like, but it will still get you to where it is that you are most heart desiring to be, yes? Yes.
And my second question has to do with my daughter Simone.
Yes.
And her South Node wound. My instinct is that it feels very literal.
May you repeat that last part?
My Simone's South Node wound.
Yes.
My instinct has a more literal feel to what I think her story could be.
Yes. Is she a young child still?
Yes.
It isn't time to be discussing those things quite yet. It is most important. This is an interesting thing for all of you to be listening to, is that you may observe this within your child, but it isn't quite ready to present itself for many of them. If they are too young, it is not time for it to present itself. You can parent them in a way that is loving around that, and have compassion around the way in which, especially the way that you are talking about, is you can suspect the way that she died previously, yes?
Yes, and also certain attachments that she may have had.
Yes, and you may have kindness to this, and you may have lovingness to this, but this is not something that would be overtly spoken about quite yet, yes?
I understand.
Yes.
One adjacent question.
Yes.
Does she still talk to her twin?
Yes. Yes, this is quite an important thing. It will continue. It may morph into the energy of an animal being as she becomes older. Yes, you're quite welcome. You know that you may too as well, yes?
Yes.
Yes, this is quite important. These things happen a quite interesting way. It's happening more and more because the energetics support non-physical communication. This is coming up more and more and more, and is an aspect of what we are here to share amongst all of the beautiful things that we speak of, the vibrations and all of these things. But it is also about, there are more and more connections of non-physical beings having communication and an important mission work with beings that are physically presented, yes? Yes, and this is an aspect of what is there to do, yes. It is a quite painful way to do it, but it is a way, yes? Yes.
Thank you, Simon, for answering these questions and being here with us. And we appreciate your time, and very grateful for this experience.
Yes, thank you. Hi. That was so cool. Yeah, that happened. Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for being here. That was so good. Thank you for all your questions. Thanks for your openness and your, so cool. I appreciate you all.
Can you remind us where we could watch the video?